Yes, we have the Involuntary Medication Objectors Party because that's what we do. We object that honest Australians would be forced to involuntarily medicate their children regardless of what they do, regardless of how they raise the children and how they take care of their health. You know, we're sitting out in front of a media mogul's Australian headquarters, I suppose it is his headquarters, today, and part of the democratic country we live in is freedom of the press. We acknowledge freedom of the press is vital for a vibrant democracy. But with freedom of the press comes responsibility. And the first bit of responsibility is to tell the truth. Yes. The second responsibility is to report the news in a factual way without bias to any particular bent. Hallelujah. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has recently stated that the censorship that exists around the current vaccination debate is the censorship story of the millennium. Right. There are people that are not being heard. There are tens of thousands of Australian families that are living day by day from 24 hours from the time they get up to the time they go to sleep with damaged children. Not mildly damaged children, but seriously damaged children. And they attribute it, the commencement of that trouble started at their vaccination. If it was 1, we might dismiss it. If it was 10, we might dismiss it. If it was 100 in a nation of over 20 million, we might dismiss it. But it's tens of thousands of people. Ridiculous. They're quiet people. They're not radicals. There are many people that I know would have loved to have been here today that won't become here because they fear for their children and the consequences that may happen. This is a deplorable state. When the media is used and it's not factual, and it has a biased slant, and it's used for the powers that be, it then becomes propaganda. Yes. And so what we have today is a massive propaganda campaign, and the victims of that propaganda are honest, hard-working, tax-paying, good-living, wonderful Australian families. And this is deplorable, and it has to stop. And the buck stops at this place here. That's right. 2 years ago, you could vaccinate or not vaccinate, and even though it engendered some lively debate in lounge rooms and over dinner parties and amongst women's groups, the whole game changed 2 years ago when this paper decided to embark on their no jab, no pay campaign. This campaign was seriously targeted. Imagine the height of them to call Australian families that are doing the best that they know how to their children murderers and terrorists. I mean, it's just appalling. I couldn't believe it. I watched and it grew and it grew. Now, the editorial staff of this paper have to bear responsibility for it. That's because right. Claire Harvey and Jane Hanson might write the damn stupid stories they're putting out, but the editorial committee are obviously approving it, and there's not a few days when they get an entire 4 pages to put this drivel out. President John F. Kennedy stated, he said, let us resolve to be masters and not victims of our history, controlling our destiny, not giving way to blind suspicion and emotions. These articles are not scientific. They are purely blind suspicion and emotion. They appeal to people's fears, and we like to trust the paper that what we're reading it tells the truth. And that's why the majority of the people think that they say things like, the science is in, the argument's over. Unfortunately, the science is not in. The argument's not over. Right. And that 8% conservatively of Australians do not vaccinate their children. And who are these people? These are just the wonderful, good living, hard-working Australian taxpayers. And for Jane Hanson to say in the Telegraph a couple of weeks ago that they have no right to the money, it's our money, and why should they be getting any of this money? Hello, I really knew that we were reading someone that really didn't get a grasp on how the tax system works. We all pay taxes, we all contribute it, and when the government makes a ruling on a tax matter that someone gets X benefit or Y benefit, then that's an entitlement. If you fit the criteria because of your wage structure, then you're entitled to it, whether that's childcare or Part A or Part B. So here we have this nonsense that's being written that appeals pure to fear, not fact. It's fear without fact. And these people are really in a bad state. They are really struggling and hurting. So the Involuntary Medication Objectors Party, we are a political party, and our objective is to object as strong as we can and in any way we can, and politically, to the injustice of these laws that are on the table at the moment and looks like they may get in. They are not fair to a section of Australia. I thought we'd long got over the day where Australia persecuted minorities. Honestly, I thought that was over. We defend the rights of many, many minority groups in Australia. But here we have these people, these harmless, good-living people. We've created such a climate of fear that now people are fearful to have their children be in front of these unvaccinated children, as if their children are going to all start dropping dead in the street. It's wrong, it's immoral, it's un-Australian, it's unethical, and we protest. The Involuntary Medication Objectors Party protests, and we would like to take this to Parliament and make our protest every week in Parliament until we can drive this message through that the science is not in and there needs to be a change. I invite you to grab our pamphlet. If you're interested in joining our party, we'd love to have you. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Michael O'Neill. A big round of applause. Our next